Welcome back to Total Performance Living. And today it's time for part 5 in my 5-part series looking at some of the key principles within the 5 pillars of total performance. And today we're going to have a look at the 5th pillar of movement. And specifically, I'm going to take you through one of the key principles, which is this idea of the movement matrix, looking at the different modes of movement and understand why exercise and workouts are not the key to developing the body, mind, and spirit that you want with your health and well-being. So let's jump into it. The movement matrix is this idea that I came up with when I was frustrated continually with people thinking about movement just in terms of exercise and workouts. So the concept of exercise is really just getting back to this perceived idea that we only move or exercise in order to expend energy as part of keeping that energy balance to allow us to basically look the way that we want to look. So exercise really doesn't have any point if you think about it as a phrase or a term. Same with a workout. That's purely just thinking from the perspective of I'm going to expend energy to therefore keep my energy balance in place in terms of what I'm eating and what I'm doing the rest of my life. So the starting point for this movement matrix is to get really clear on what are these key modes of movement and shifting the focus away from exercise and workouts to think about movement. Now, movement is life. We need to move to live. We're designed to move. We're machines and human beings that are designed to move. And I've broken it down here into these 4 main modes of movement. And then I'll talk you through how each of them are important, how we need to get elements of each of them, and how we can blend them in to create an overall movement strategy for ourselves to give us a principle of how we're actually approaching our movement. So first of all, down here, we have the 2 forms of what I would refer to as more working in movement. It's a concept from my mentor and who I've studied through, Paul Chek, this idea of working in. So movement that allows us to move energy throughout the body, but not necessarily expend and take away and deplete us or take us into a stressful catabolic state. So the first one of that is move. So how do we incorporate more movement into our day-to-day activities? Walking to work, getting up when we're at work, walking around the house, walking around the streets. How do we build more of that, what they call NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, a fancy word for just moving as much as you can, into our day? That's the core basis of this movement matrix, is increasing how much we move. Not thinking about it from a practical, structured perspective, but just thinking, how can I move more in my day? How can I minimize the amount of time that I'm stationary, that I'm sitting still, that I'm not moving, and that I'm sedentary? So that's the foundation for the movement matrix, is the move quadrant. The next one is play. This is a big missing piece for a lot of people. Play is, again, more of a working in activity from a movement perspective. And the key features around play is that it's unstructured and it's fun. It doesn't have any end goal. It doesn't have any particular intention. It doesn't have a structure. It's all about how do I move my body? How do I express my movement capability? And how do I have some fun in doing it? And this, particularly for people that are very structured, focused, with their exercise, with their diet, with what they're doing in terms of their health and well-being, they can get bogged down in other areas of the matrix and lose touch with that sense of play. So that's a really important piece for people to build into this overall movement matrix. So there we have the bottom 2, the foundations of the movement matrix, which are around move and play. Then we shift up into what I would describe as more of the working out modes of movement. Now, these are the ones that are going to take energy from us. They're going to require us to expend a lot of energy and probably take us into some level of sort of stressful catabolic response and state. And they're 2 distinct things here. The first is practice. So I define practice as intentional movement with the aim of developing some sort of skill or ability. So for instance, practice could be golf practice, or it could be practicing juggling, or it could be your football practice or a sporting practice. Something, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is another big one for people at the moment, martial arts, something that has a skill acquisition basis to it that's incorporating a level of movement to it. Really important in terms of tying together the body and the mind from a movement perspective and bringing an intention and focus into what do we want to actually get out of moving, rather than just moving for the sake of moving. So practice is a really important piece of this movement matrix as well. And then finally, the train component. Now, going back to the earlier point around exercise and working out, or a workout not being the phrasing or terminology you want to use, the key reason for that is related to training is effectively exercise and a workout, but with a structure, with an intention, and with a plan. Exercise and working out is just like training, but with no structure, no intention, and no plan. And that's why people just do it for the sake of doing it. They do it subconsciously. They don't really have an intention, a plan, or a structure. They're just doing it because they feel like they need to expend energy. Training is very different. It has that structure, it has that intention, it has that plan, and ultimately that's going to actually allow us to achieve what we want to achieve, whether it's in terms of a physical goal, whether it's in terms of an athletic performance goal, whatever it might be. If we don't train, and we don't focus on training as opposed to just exercising or working out, that's when we just keep going around in circles and not making any progress towards our goals as it relates to movement. So all of these play a role in terms of our overall movement strategy, in terms of this movement matrix. We need elements of each of them. The move and the play for that just incidental, unstructured fun, the practice and the training for more of that intentional skill development, developing our body, developing our mind. So they work together. They work together in terms of complementing each other and providing that holistic approach to our movement, as opposed to the approach that a lot of people take where it's about balancing that energy. I need to do a certain amount of exercise or work out a certain amount of times per week purely because I'm trying to maintain a particular physique or get to a particular physique or balance what I'm eating from that perspective. So there you have it. The big takeaway here is that stop the exercise, stop the working out, start to look at how do I move more? How do I build more moving into my day-to-day activities? How do I cultivate play? How do I bring some fun, unstructured movement of my body, exploring what it's capable of into my life? And then how do I plan to develop skills? What do I practice? What do I want to develop? What are the skills I want to develop in my life? What are the things that I want to do from a movement perspective that are going to allow me to evolve? And then finally, how am I training? What's my structure? What's my plan? What's my focus? Is there progression in it? And if you do that and stop focusing on exercising and working out, A, this concept of movement will become a lot more fun. B, it'll be a lot more effective for you in terms of your overall health and wellbeing strategy. And C, you'll start to shift away from feeling like it's so onerous, and it'll shift to be something you actually enjoy and want to do. And it'll complement this overall idea of holistic health and getting away from exercise, working out, getting back to movement and understanding that movement is what we're designed for, not just to exercise and work out.